Hello. So I'm going to talk briefly about cam phasers. That's kind of my thing. And this is take 724. I saw recently on one of the M156 pages that there was a discussion about older versus newer phasers. Would the newer ones work on an older car, etc.? And I wanted to make this short video to kind of help demystify it. Over the years, from what I've seen, there's been at least 6 different revisions on this part number, depending which side it is. Functionally, they're all the same. Dimensionally, they're all the same. Best I can tell, the only differences are material. And the only reason to change something from an engineering standpoint is to make it cheaper. That being said, I prefer the older phasers. They tend to last a bit longer than the newer ones. The older ones also have a taller spring than the newer ones. Other than that, they're identical. And while we're focusing on the lock pins here, I've seen a lot of folks worry about the little radius on the end of these lock pins. Some of them are right side up, and some of them are upside down. Let me see. All right, so that one there is used. All right, and that little radius on the end is exactly how it looked the day it left the factory. That is a normal manufacturing artifact. When the pins come off the lathe, they get deburred, which means that edge gets broken. So that's not wear. That is a manufacturing artifact. So that little radius end is nothing to be worried about. The other thing I have seen is differences in the gear itself. These gears here are only a year apart. This one is 19th week of 08, and this one is 41st week of 09. One thing I have seen is folks having a hard time getting a successful learn-in done and worrying about whether or not it's your plates or did you screw something up or what. I can almost guarantee you it's not your plates. It doesn't matter whose product you're using. If you're having a learn-in problem, it's almost guaranteed not to be your plates. Unless you, of course, put an exhaust in on an intake cam, etc. I have seen that. Anyway, this is the gear lash mechanism here. And what this does is it's meant to reduce valve train noise. Straight cut gears make a lot of noise as they run, and the having some method of taking up gear lash is going to quiet it down. Also, it will be more precise as far as the timing is concerned. There's 2 ways to physically make this fit. One is like this, one is like that, all right? This here, you can see the teeth are almost lined up, but this is incorrect. You want to have them not lined up like that. And that's the purpose of this tool. It will force compression onto the spring and rotate this back plate further to the viewer's right to make the teeth align. And then once you get the assembly on the end of the camshaft, then you remove the tool, and the spring pressure will pinch the idler gear, and you will have proper timing. If it gets installed like this, there is enough room play-wise. I have seen the computer have a real problem with having the gear lash not set properly. So that's the first thing I look at if someone is having learn-in problems, is make sure this gear lash is set properly. The only other thing I can say is, even though your engine may be running perfectly fine. You know, let's say you put the cams in, you had the timing tools locked on, and you triple checked everything and torqued everything down and went back and rechecked your torque. The cam can be perfectly all right as far as its relation to the crankshaft, but the computer has no real way of knowing what position the cam is in, because the computer is paying attention to the reluctor wheel that fits on the front of the phaser, and that can be in any position. So the computer's making an assumption that you did your job correctly. And what I have seen from time to time is that when you go back to retorque your big center bolts, it will actually cause that reluctor wheel to move slightly, which can also throw your timing off. My recommendation is to go straight to your torque value and then don't try to retorque it. That's my recommendation. One other thing to check is when you put this plate on the front of the engine, there are 2 hollow dowel pins that bolts go through when it's all assembled, and they fit snugly into these bores. So when you put this up there, if you don't have those little dowels in other words, they came off of the solenoid cover and weren't left in the head, you need to put those in. Otherwise, the alignment of this thing will not be precise enough to make the computer happy. So this relies on those dowels to be in the correct location.